What's up, guys? Stephen Bogran here from Pro Physique. Today what I want to talk about is good and bad foods. Alright everybody, so happy New Year. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2019. A time when a lot of us feel like hope is on the horizon. Things are born anew and it is a fresh opportunity to have a new start, a new lease on life. Booyah. So, I think this kind of is one of those relevant topics because there's something that I hear in a lot of resolutions, and it's I want to eat better. I want to eat better. Okay? This simple sentence says a lot of different things. And I think that some of those need to be addressed, right? So, I want to eat better. How do I eat better? So the last video I did, we talked about objective goals. We talked about, goal setting and how to track these things and sort of some ideas on that. But I want to eat better. What is better? What is good? What is bad? What is best? What is worst? Whew. Like those things are very dependent on your own personal definitions or maybe somebody else's definition, right? So it's not really an objective thing that we can measure. We can't measure good. We can't measure better. We can't measure best. Unless we're talking about a competition, and in that case, sometimes we can. But again, we have an objective set of rules behind that to quantify what is good, what is better, what is best. Boom. So let's talk about, I think first and foremost, food does not have a moral compass. Food is not like, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy with heart disease. Food is not like, oh, I'm gonna make their intestines so wonderfully healthy with all my fiber. It doesn't have any kind of intent for us, right? It simply is the way that our body reacts with the chemicals. It reacts with the compounds, right? It breaks them down, it utilizes them. Some of them help clean arteries. Some of them help make arteries worse. Some of them have more saturated fat. Some of them have, polyunsaturated fats. Some of them have monounsaturated fats. Right, so it just it's different, right? Some of them, some carbohydrates are processed more quickly and raise blood sugar more quickly. Some take longer and do it over a longer period of time. So some proteins have less fat, some proteins have more fat. There is no good or bad. If anybody's trying to make you feel like you're a piece of shit or you're less worthy because of the food choices you make, fuck that asshole. Right? They're just a dickhead. And so we see this all over, and I'm gonna go off on my little rant here, my little tirade, because that's what I like to do, right? People want to be judgmental. They want to feel like they are better than you, right? Nothing new there. Welcome to life, right? So it's important that we don't allow them to put in our heads that food somehow has a moral compass, right? Food is not murder, this fucking other bullshit, right? It just isn't there. Like food doesn't have a conscience to go by, right? It's not realistic to say. So we don't want to get in the habit of saying, hey, I'm good or I'm bad, right? Because now we do have a moral compass. We do have, that insight to ourselves. And we do have a lot of positive and negative consequences that come from I'm good or I'm bad, right? A lot of that affects our life choices, that it does a lot of things. So we don't want to have that with food. Food is sustenance. We need it to replenish our fuel, renew our cells, and continue life. It's a very simple thing. And so now, if I've eaten 5,000 calories a day, is it beneficial for me to maybe eat another, 5,000 calories a day worth of pizza and saturated fats? Maybe not. We know that saturated fats do have, they can be linked to some negative things in terms of health. Now, if I'm starving and I haven't eaten in 4 or 5, days, maybe now that's not such a bad thing, right? Do I really care about that? Fuck no. I'm gonna eat that pizza. Yeah. Was it bad for me at that point in time? No. So we want to look at things in context, right? And we want to look at them as, is it beneficial or is it not beneficial? So It's the same thing with the holidays. We know people overate. We know you had cookies and fucking champagne and wine and all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's just the context of it. Did it fit into our goals? Was it beneficial for what we're trying to do? Do we give a fuck if it was beneficial for what we were trying to do? Because they're legitimate. Like, I'm in an off season, okay? So let me preface with that. I'm in an off season. I'm trying to build. I'm trying to gain weight. There are definitely some days where I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna have a good time with my friends. I'm gonna be, mindful, or I'm not gonna be mindful, and I don't really care. I'm gonna eat some fucking cookies. I'm gonna eat some pizza. I'm gonna drink beer, and I'm gonna have a good time, and I'm gonna sort of let loose and relax. Yeah, dude. Now, for me, it's very hard for me to put on weight. That's not a big deal for me. Now, if I was in prep and I was, 3 weeks out, that's a different story. I'm not gonna be doing the same thing. Not because it's bad, because it's not beneficial to what I'm trying to do, right? So I think that when we make that connotation of good and bad, we have to feel good or bad about the decisions that we make. There is no morality there. I didn't just do that with my hands. Yes, but there is no morality there. It's just, there's not. It's not a good or bad thing, right? It helps me get to my goals. It doesn't help me get to my goals. Food is sustenance. It has some consequences, but again, consequences, perception determines good or bad. So, tirade over, right? There is no good or bad foods, right? So what we really want to look at is we want to look at like maybe what's the calorie count, maybe what's the macro count, maybe are we getting enough protein? Look at some of those objective, pieces of information. What kind of, what's my calorie intake now? How do I get it to be better, right? Let's set up some definitions in terms of what is good, what is, better, best. And then we can work on things throughout that ladder, right? That way we're at least making some sort of objective progress towards the goal of eating better, right? Which I still think eating better, yes, it's something we take for granted and I'm making a big deal out of something, but I think that these underlying principles, these underlying things affect people much more so than they realize. So remember, it's not just the physiological, right? Like, I've done the physiological stuff, like I've done it. The mental processes matter too, because, it's very hard to try and separate mind and body. Mind controls body, body influences mind, blah, 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 blah. Fucking whatever, right? So we want to make sure that we're taking care of everything, our entirety as a whole. And so sometimes paying attention to some of these little trigger things and these things that are working behind the scenes can in fact do that. Do we want to have food that is micronutrient dense, high in fiber, and high in nutrient value? Yes, hell yes, fuck yes we do. Why? Well, one, it helps keep us full and satiated, right? So in terms of calorie control, right, dieting, whatever, it helps to keep us fuller on lower calorie intake, right? It's less calorie dense. Two, it gives us micronutrients. We need those to survive. That's important. The processes in the body need micronutrients. I don't know. Death is bad. Death's bad. Maybe it is. I don't know. So yes, we want those. We want lean proteins. We want to, maybe keep saturated fats within normal levels or within a range, right? We don't need to necessarily completely eliminate them, but we don't have to, eat all saturated animal fats, right? Maybe if you're keto, you don't really have a lot of options in terms of food choices. Different story. I don't want to get on that. Okay. But, so yeah, there are some good, principles to nutrition that we can utilize, right? Things that are going to help us to stay healthier, right? They're going to help us have more longevity in life. They're going to help us feel a little bit better in terms of, energy levels being nice and even throughout the day, those kinds of things. But we don't want to say this food is bad, this food is good, right? Because now every time we have bad food, we have to feel bad, right? And nobody likes feeling bad. And saying that something we love, like pizza or cake or cookies or beer or wine or whiskey or get it? I'm not going to leave those things out of my entire life. I like those things. I had a client send me lemon cookies. They were fucking delicious. I haven't eaten them all yet, but they're good, right? I don't want to give that stuff up. I don't want to give up beer. And it's not even necessarily that I love beer so much, but the act of going out, having a beer, having a talk with a friend, like maybe, just chilling out and getting away, things like those are experiences and things in life that I enjoy and I want to keep in my life. But if I label that bad, every time I do that, there's a part of me that feels bad, right? I don't want you guys to be set up to feel bad because you're being normal fucking human beings, okay? So if there's one thing that I think you should work on this year, it's not labeling its foods as good and bad. Remember, food has no morality. No morality. That's all I got. So starting the new year off on a good note, let's keep it positive. Let's remember there are a lot of things that we can do that influence us in ways we don't typically see. So what I challenge you to do this year, guys, is get away from calling foods good and bad. They're either going to help you to your current goal or they may not. And neither one of those things is necessarily good or bad. It just is a thing. So that's it, guys. I'm out. Happy fucking New Year.